Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Assembly Nashville. Thank you all for coming. Stand up with me. I need you to stand up, sing along, clap along. Here we go. Stand in the place where you live.
Now face north.
About direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you were.
Now face west.
About direction, wonder why you haven't. If you are confused, check with the sun. Carry a compass to help you along. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. So stand in the place where you live.
Now face north.
Think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you were.
Now face west.
About the place where you live, wonder why you haven't. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. Listen to the trees would be falling. Listen to reason, the season is calling.
Stand
In the place where you live.
now face north.
About direction, wonder why you haven't.
Stand
In the place where you were.
now face west.
About direction, wonder why you haven't. Sing with me! If wishes were trees, the trees would be falling. Listen to reason, the season is calling. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. So stand in the place where you live.
Now face north.
Think about direction, wonder why you haven't.
Stand
In the place where you were.
now face west.
About direction, wonder why you haven't.
Stand
Stand!
now face north.
Direction, wonder why you haven't now.
Stand
Stand!
now face west.
About the place where you live, wonder why you haven't.
Stand
In the place where you are. Stand in the place where you are. Stand in the place where you are.
now face north.
Declare to you
Now face west.
Nice job, everybody. Keep on your feet.
Everybody knows this song.
Here we go.
I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. There's a new me coming out. Now I'm just listening. Now I'm coming in. I'm completely positive. I think this time around. I'm gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'm getting through. The time is coming to break out of the shell. I have to shout that I am coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I got to show the world all that I wanna be in all my ability. There's so much more to me. I get that kind of living. Just understand I got it in the hand. Know how I am. I'm standing up. There is no fear. And I just feel so good every time I hear. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show.
no, we're pro-life. Oh, wait a minute. Erase, please edit the tape. We are positive about life. So our motto, honestly, I did not plan that. Our motto is live, oh, say it with me. I always like when people say it with me. Live better, help often, wonder more. Okay, seriously, that is a great motto. That's how I want to live my life. So, our mission, a Sunday assembly in every town, city, and village that wants one. And our vision to help everyone live life as fully as possible. So, that's what today is about. We've got the book drive going on, Help Often. We've got a fabulous speaker and a fabulous theme that I'm going to talk about in a second. Wonder more. And then please, singing and dancing, that doesn't help. I mean, if that doesn't help you live a better life, I don't know what does. Okay, so coming out, oh my gosh. I love this theme. I love this theme so much because it is something that I have encountered in various areas of my life and thought about a lot, and especially for the last month when we've been talking about this theme. I have been thinking about it daily. Constantly. Oh my gosh, how in our lives do we come out? And what happens when we come out? What are some of the bad experiences people have? What are some of the in-between experiences? What are some of the good experiences that people have about coming out? At the Sunday Assembly International Conference that a bunch of us attended in Atlanta recently, by the way, it was fabulous. Yeah. Fabulous. By the way, we had the biggest contingent there. Yeah. But of course, we're not competitive. But we did. And our band members were the core. Our singers were the core of the music. Without us, it would have been, a CD player and people singing along. So, yes, go send the Assembly Nashville. Anyway, but it made me think about coming out because one of the things Sanderson and several of the speakers talked about was, how can we spread our vision of what it's like to be a non-believer, a humanist, a secularist, an atheist, an agnostic, whatever word you're using. How can we spread that vision? Well, I can't spread that vision unless we talk about it to people, and that's probably going to involve coming out. But people have complicated lives. And sometimes people are in positions where it's not safe to come out. And our speaker can definitely talk about that. But as a psychologist, I'm more interested in the next level of coming out, which is the coming out to yourself, the coming out to someone else about something very personal and private. Because when we talk about this theme of coming out, a big part of it is coming out as an atheist. But then there's also coming out as someone with a history of sexual abuse, or coming out as someone who, this is the one I hear the most often, because really, the heart of psychotherapy in many ways is people telling me things that they've never told anybody else, that they're ashamed to admit. That's what coming out is, right? It's facing the truth about yourself and telling that truth to yourself, maybe, to friends and family, maybe, to the world, maybe. But in my realm, it's mostly about telling somebody else. If you want to make your therapist happy, start a sentence with, well, I wasn't going to tell you this, but, oh my gosh, internally, this is what I'm doing. Right? Because whatever follows that sentence is good. That is good stuff. We're on the right path. We're on the right path if you say that. Right? Or, I've never told anybody this. Right? I'm like a golden retriever at that point. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Because I know the telling is so powerful. And then when you get a response of, no, you're not a terrible person because of that. No, it wasn't your fault. Or even, okay, yes, that is the truth about you. So I decided I would tell my coming out story. My coming out story has nothing to do with coming out as an atheist. That was actually pretty easy, and maybe I'll tell the story sometime. But it wasn't a big deal. But this past year, I have been working on my pathological, some might call it bossiness. Some of you may have noticed I tend to take charge of things. Like I'm hosting twice, and I've only been here since February. Okay. I'm coming out. I'm bossy. But what you don't know, you see the behavior, right? What you don't know is the internal struggle. For me, for years, I have been bossy and been angry about people who did not bend to my will. So last night's potluck, a year ago, before I started working on this in very intensive therapy, a year ago, my response when people put the banana bread in the entree section, what? No, you didn't hear me right. They put the banana bread in the entree section. This is not to be done. A year ago, my response would have been, I can't believe people don't pay attention. What's wrong with them? Last night, my response was, oh, banana bread in the entree section. Think I'll move it over here. No internal struggle. I know. Thank you. I just didn't care. I just didn't care. Oh my gosh, things don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be perfect. And you know, I've known for years why I learned that. I spent 2 years wondering if my mother was going to either commit suicide or murder suicide. I honestly didn't know. That teaches you to be a perfectionist. So I knew why. But it took facing the fact that, oh my gosh, I am so like her in the way I boss people around and criticize. It took coming out to myself to get over it. So I'm a huge fan of coming out. I'm a huge fan of this theme. So that's my reflection on it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I thought about starting this with, hi, my name is Brynda and I'm bossy. Thank you. Hi, Brynda. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on with the assembly. So next comes our readings. We have 2 fabulous ones for you guys. The first is going to be Jeremy Wells reading Emily Dickinson. So welcome, Jeremy.
All right.
We grow accustomed to the dark when light is put away, as when the neighbor holds the lamp to witness her goodbye. A moment, we uncertain step for newness of the night, then fit our vision to the dark and meet the road erect. And so of larger darkness, those evenings of the brain when not a moon disclose a sign or star come out within, the bravest grope a little and sometimes hit a tree directly in the forehead. But as they learn to see, either the darkness alters, or something in the sight adjusts itself to midnight, and life steps almost straight.
Obviously, we have the slides flipped. Jeremy, what was the title of that? Just in case people want to look it up.
We grow accustomed to the dark.
Did you hear that? We Grow Accustomed to the Dark by Emily Dickinson. And now we have Nancy Scutella.
All right, Nick.
I rather fancy this poem, actually. The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. Right? I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us. To be careful, to be realistic, to know our limitations. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
Those are powerful, aren't they? You know, speaking to that experience and being true to yourself. So, Neil Carter is our speaker today. I know, I'm so excited about this. I don't think he needs much of an introduction. Most of you probably already know he is the blogger behind Godless and Dixie. He is a fabulous speaker. Those of you who heard him last night can attest to that. And he was willing to come and speak to us today. So come on up, Neil.
I was told this was the good mic. Okay. So can I move this over for just a second? Because I'm afraid I'm going to kick it. I mean, I'm not that dynamic of a speaker. I'm not going to like run over everything. But anyway, I shall make sure I got plenty of space. Thank you all very much. Y'all been very welcoming. This has been really fun so far. This is my first Sunday assembly. So of course Nashville would have the best music. Like there's any question. Yeah, so in about a 15-minute space of time, I'm going to try to talk about how I came out, when I came out, why I came out, why I think other people should come out, who shouldn't, and cram all of that into that space of time. So I'm going to do my best. So for those of y'all that don't know my story, I grew up Southern Baptist in Jackson, Mississippi, and I became a more devoted Christian at 15. I got saved. And ironically, I was always a Christian. You know, I was raised a Christian, but it wasn't my own yet. It wasn't until a youth evangelism conference at age 15 that I had a conversion experience. It was very dramatic, and it was a Damascus Road type experience, or at least that's what happens when you go back and reflect on it later. You know, in retrospect, I see now how they teach us to think that way about our experiences. They take emotional experiences, which they themselves contrived, by the way, and they teach us to frame them in a certain kind of vocabulary that sounds very dramatic. And I did a good job of making it very dramatic. And yeah, I confess. But I hit the ground running, and I was very devoted to my faith for a solid 20 years. It was my whole life. My marriage was formed around a common faith as well. We were on the same page. So that's a big part of my story, and I try not to talk about it too much simply because it's a very personal thing. But I can still talk about how your relationships with people that you love are greatly affected if you start off on the same page and then you change. At this point, a major focus of my own life is learning how to, like I said in one of my recent posts, build bridges between people who have very different beliefs. Because my goal is not to make everybody believe the same thing I believe. And I do believe things. And I am pro-life. I like the way you said that, actually. I believe in life before death. You know, and that's what a humanist believes. So, what was it that funny?
You're Ross.
All right, y'all can quote me on it, but I didn't make it up, so don't give me credit. So what happened was, I took my faith too seriously, honestly. I devoted myself totally to it. You know, one of the ongoing jokes among non-believers and former believers is that when they say, what book did you read that made you become an atheist? And most people say, well, the Bible. For me, that wasn't what it was, though. I mean, for me, it wasn't like I delved into the Bible and I saw all the contradictions and that's why I changed my mind. For me, it was more of a psychological process. It was metacognition. I began to analyze my own thought processes, and I realized that the way that faith worked on me was very much a mind game, whereby I used selection bias to pick, you know, which things I needed to listen to and which things not to listen to. Just analyzing my own self, my own thought processes is what made me start to realize this was a game that I was playing with myself. And the really smart people play it better than others, you know? So lest you believe that people who hang on to their faith into old age are dumber than you. No, actually, probably they're very smart, many of them. I mean, that's not the only reason people hang on to it. Some of them, frankly, aren't that smart. But many of them hang on to their faith well into old age because they're just better at rationalizing what they believe than other people are. So don't assume it means they're less intelligent, because they're not. Some of the most intelligent people that I know are very devout believers of multiple faiths. So for me, it was just a matter of thinking about how I played games with myself, in my own mind. And once I started picking that apart, my faith dissolved at about 35, 36, something like that. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I tried, but there's no middle ground in the world that I came from. You know, there's not like a middle space where doubts are okay. Doubts are always a threat to the kind of faith tradition that I came from. And they often don't talk about them like they're a threat. They talk about them like they're an opportunity to have greater faith afterwards. But, well, you know, really it's let's just, don't give me that. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to co-opt doubt into faith. The guy, if you saw that, how many of y'all saw the CBS piece that I was in? Okay, a bunch of y'all have it. Well, great, go watch it. You can check out CBS Atheists, and it's a piece that comes up. And I ended up on that because I'm involved with something called the Openly Secular campaign. And the Openly Secular campaign is explicitly about coming out, which is why I'm talking about that this morning. So I'm getting off the subject. Let me go back to how I came out. My wife and I were going through a marital crisis, and we needed to get some counseling. We needed to talk about some issues that we needed to work through. And they weren't uncommon situations, but when it came time to figure out how to deal with them, we couldn't find who to go to who wasn't religiously biased. In Jackson, Mississippi, everybody is. Even the ones who don't identify as religious therapists, they are religious therapists. And everything's going to be framed that way. And of course, we ended up picking somebody whose office was in a church, and he was a minister with a degree from seminary. So obviously that's the best thing for me, right? So at that point I had to come out to my wife and tell her I wasn't even a believer anymore, and that sent us into an even deeper crisis. And we honestly never found a way to get past it. We worked on it for about a year. I didn't tell my children for another 2 or 3 years. So this was about 5 years ago this process began for me. And I didn't start actually coming out until about 2 years ago when I started blogging. And the reason I did that was because not only had my marriage come to a close, not only had I begun to lose all of my friendships, because all my friendships were based in ministry. You know, I mean, I went to a Baptist college. Everybody I went to school with ended up in some kind of ministry position, you know, somewhere on that spectrum. Even the ones who weren't professional ministers, they spent all their spare time doing church things. So when you're not a part of that, it's not even just that they're going to reject you or shun you. There's other kinds of exclusion. You know, if their whole life is revolving around church and yours is not anymore, there's just not a place for you in their life. So, you know, I see you nodding your head. So first I lost my marriage, then I lost my friends, then I lost my job. I was teaching high school, and one of my students outed me. I was still very much in the closet about being an atheist, but they saw something on Facebook that gave me away. That was a foolish decision on my part to not hide all of my likes. So they outed me. And it got to my principal. And my principal confronted me about it before class one day. Yes, I know that's very illegal. You know that, right? That's illegal. But in Jackson, Mississippi, you know, the law is only as impartial as the people who enforce it. Right? So I even tried to appeal it through the county process, but they're all brothers and sisters of one another. And the county that I work for is really bad. They're really well known for nepotism. They've been on the national news a lot. mostly because the American Humanist Association has had to sue them several times. But they're a typical Mississippi county. I ended up losing that job. And I was not able to prove on paper that the atheism was the reason, because we had a conversation about it. When I asked my principal why she was telling me all these things I could and couldn't talk about in my classroom, she said, because there's talk in the community that you told your students you're an atheist. And well, that wasn't true. I didn't tell them that, but they outed me. So how did I come out? At first, somebody else outed me. And then I lost my job, and I thought, you know what? There's not anything left for anybody to take away. At this point, I might as well start talking about this. You know, I wasn't left with many other options. I didn't ask to be a part of the culture wars. They showed up on my front doorstep. And they said, you know what, you're in it. And so fine, I'm in it now. They want me in it, I'm in it. You know, I'm going to start talking about this. And the more I've talked about it, the more I've found out there's others out there who are in the same situation I was in before, and they can't come out. And I've come to see the value of those of us who can, in my case, because I've got nothing left to lose. And I come out because, you know what, there's others who can't. And the more of us come out and tell people, we don't believe all the same things you do, and we're fine. We're perfectly good people, and you can get along with us, and we can participate with you in community projects, and we can vote, and we can pay our taxes, and we can do all the things that you can. We just don't believe in that life after death thing. So the more of us do that, the more it creates a space for that to be recognized as a common part of life and a part of American society, which is the way we were built. We were supposed to be a pluralistic society where it's okay to welcome differences. And some people have forgotten that. Yeah. You know, they've enjoyed the place of privilege that their history has afforded them, and it's time for them to give up some of that privilege, but they don't give it up willingly. In case you didn't know that, nobody gives up privilege willingly. Somebody said one time that nobody gives up a position of power by appealing to their moral sense. And it's true. There's sometimes you do have to fight for it, and sometimes it means upsetting people. And it is upsetting for you to come out. It's upsetting. Greta Christina said something really, really accurate one time. She said, religion relies on social consent for its strength. I mean, it can't rely on the ability to back up its claims, because some of the claims are frankly unbelievable, but it does survive on social consent. And when you come out and simply say, I no longer am a part of that club, you are removing consent. You are denying it, one person's consent, which means you've just, by default, you've weakened their position. So they're offended by you, no matter how nice you are. And I'm about as nice as it gets for atheism. You know? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still upset them because you've just said that you're not a part of their club and you've robbed them of consent. Okay, so that's how I came out. Why I tell people to come out? Because it helps make a place for others to be safe to do the same thing. So those of you that can should consider doing it. Being more open about the fact that you're secular, that you're not a theist or you're not a religious person, however you want to put it. It's also good for you personally. And I like what you said, coming out for yourself. I made this point on the CBS piece because the interviewer was Mo Rocca, which was very cool, by the way. Because Mo Rocca, you know, Daily Show. Everybody kept thinking, where were the jokes? There were supposed to be jokes, but those were all off camera. He was a fun guy to hang out with, very fun. And he said, are you happy you came out of the closet? And I said, you know, the honest answer is there were some really hard knocks that I got as a result of that. And I don't even feel like I chose to come out in a lot of ways. Like I said, the culture wars came to my front doorstep. I got forced into it. But it's no fun to be hidden, to be closeted. It's no fun to feel like you're a prisoner in your own life and you're not free to be who you really are. I think because life is short, I think it's a very humanist value to say that we owe it to ourselves to take ownership of our own lives. We owe it to ourselves to get to a point where our life belongs to us and we feel at home in our life. And it's not that easy because if you're surrounded by people who think differently from you, and if you're surrounded by people who think that people like you are what's wrong with the world, then it's complicated. So you may not be able to come out. And my advice to people who are the only people who don't believe in their area is maybe you don't need to come out. Maybe the result is going to be too much. Because it's not really owning your own life if coming out means everything you love is going to be taken from you. So you have to be wise about what you're doing. But you can always begin building a place in your life where you are at home. The virtual space online creates a way to connect with people so that you have a support group online, which is just incredible. It's such a wonderful thing for people who don't have anybody local that they can reach out to. You guys, on the other hand, are within driving distance, at least, of a whole bunch of people. I mean, this is fantastic. And that's why I believe strongly in people finding ways to get together, like Sunday Assembly, like Oasis, meetup groups, whatever you can figure out to do. Because we need each other. We're communal species. You know, we're not wired to be alone, I don't think. There's a handful of people who can be alone, and I'm not going to tell them they can't be, but when somebody says, you know what, I don't see why we have to have groups, my response is, well, maybe you don't, but are you the only thing that matters? You know? Aren't there other people who probably do need communities, and can you at least acknowledge that they do? You know? So don't fall right into the stereotype that Christians have always said, that humanists are self-interested. I don't think that's true, because I'm a humanist and I don't think I'm self-interested. So why would you come out? You do owe it to yourself, and I don't think that's an invalid consideration. As an evangelical Christian, I was taught that was invalid. I was taught to devalue my own needs for the sake of others. And the thing is, there's a better way to put that. I don't think that you should be completely selfish, and I don't think you should be completely selfless. I think there's a balance. There's a balance between your own needs and the needs of the other person. And whichever ideology values one at the expense of the other is off balance. And I think my ideology that I grew up with devalued the self. And so I couldn't even accept that as a motivation for coming out. I couldn't even accept the need to be at home in my own life. But looking back, I see the value in it. So you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the others who can't come out. If you're in a place that you can, it sure would help them if you would. Because they can't, and you help provide a voice for them. You help create a space in our public discourse that acknowledges that non-theists exist. And if you've seen the news lately, the nuns, the religious nuns, the non-affiliated, are becoming more and more visible because the Pew study showed that we make up something like a third. Not in Nashville, Tennessee, not in Jackson, Mississippi, not in rural Georgia, North Florida, Alabama, you know, the Bible Belt. Although I've discovered that this is a problem all over the country. It just depends on where you live, right? If you're more than 20 minutes outside of any major city in the U.S., you're back in the Bible Belt again. It's true. I don't know if you knew that, but that's true everywhere in the United States. All right, I've got a couple more minutes, I think, for question and answer.
Yes.
So, she's timing us. Yes.
My parents are 83. I grew up Catholic. They're set in their ways.
Don't tell them.
I know, really, because I'm worried about hurting them. Really hurting them.
I get that question.
I can't say. Yeah, but then I can't get on Facebook and proclaim and let people know that there are others out there. I'm so torn.
You have discovered the use of lists on Facebook, right? How you can segregate your posts.
No, really.
Okay. Well, if you go in and look at underneath each person's name, under the button Friends, you can add them to a list, and you can create them. I have an atheist-friendly list, and I do most of my posting to them. And so if I post something with like pictures of kids, I might post it to everybody. Although even then, I've cultivated so many atheist friends that if I throw it open to everybody, I have friends who, honestly, atheists can be an ornery bunch sometimes. I'll post something with my children, and they have to make some slam about religion. It's just a post of my kids. What's up with that? You know, so now my mother can't read it without getting upset. So I've had to really work hard to work on Facebook, and social media is a major issue. Like we need a whole book just to talk about how to handle social media with all of our family relationships. It's like, of course, that would be obsolete the moment it was printed because it changes every 6 months completely. My answer is, if you have parents who are in their 80s, don't bother telling them. What would be the value, you know? And that means that you're still hidden in a way, and I can sympathize with that. But everybody that I know whose family is at the point where there's just not much value in telling them, you're going to give up the last 3, 4, 10 great years with them to have them wringing their hands, going to bed crying because they think you're going to go to hell. Don't do it, you know? I mean, it's not necessary. Yes?
Was the school that you got released from, was it a public or a private?
Oh, of course it's public, but in Mississippi, I mean, people wear their religion on their sleeves. So, no, it wasn't legal, but I couldn't prove in print that that was the reason why. So they got out of it. Yes.
Neil, I want to know who was the most influential for you when you first found yourself in that state of coming out, and or what groups did you go to? What was your resource?
Just me. Just me, honestly. Two funny things happened. I mean, two things coincided. One is that there weren't many people around me that I could go to, and everybody saw my doubts as a threat to their own faith. You know, even the most open-minded friends that I went to, they kind of saw this as an opportunity for them to try to bring me back in. So that didn't help. But I also tried. No, at the time that I did, I couldn't find anybody, and the books I hated. Because all of the books that I found were written by people who couldn't sympathize with me as a person who had been a member of, oh, that's way too fast.
No.
Okay, good. All right. The people who were writing about atheism at the time that I was looking for books on it were all writing as outsiders of the faith. And the way they talk about faith made it clear to me that they had no idea how it works psychologically on a person. I needed a book by a former insider. I did read Dan Barker's book, and that was to some degree helpful, except that, again, he was from a tradition that was different from mine, so some of what he wrote I didn't identify with. I didn't come from a charismatic or background. Mine was more cerebral than that. So that's why I need to write a book, because I need to explain. I mean, it's a matter of time management, but I need to write it because I need to write a book that was what I needed when I was deconverting. And there's more people out there that are doing that. Pathos is doing a great job of grabbing those people up. So if you get on the Pathos Atheist channel, people have already been complaining that there's so many ex-Christians on there, that they keep writing about Christianity as much as they write about atheism. But, I mean, atheism as an abstraction from everything else is kind of an empty thing to me anyway. It's like, it's what's relevant about it is it's disconnected to other things. And in my case, it's like coming out of a religious background. Yes?
This is the last one.
Okay, listen, when we're done, I'll be around, so y'all can ask me lots of questions afterwards.
Okay. Neil, you must have been angry when those things were taken out of your life. And I wonder if you've come on the other side of that anger. I think that a lot of people going through this transition experience that, you know, that ill feelings towards the religious communities. And I wondered, you know, what's your thoughts on that?
This question is what I do with my anger. First of all, I'm very slow to respond to things emotionally. It's just the way I'm wired. It takes me a long time to process how I think and feel about things. I mean, I was 35 before I finally came to grips with my own critical thinking skills. But I express anger differently than some people. I'm one of those people who I take a long time to process it. And this is how I express my anger. I travel all over and I tell people, you know what, I kind of don't care that people are going to get mad at me by talking about this. They took things away from me and they knew better. You know, it wasn't even consistent with what they said they believed. And so my response is I'm going to go around and I'm going to talk about what's wrong with what they believe. Not because I think that their entire religion needs to go away, because that's not my thing. My thing is not getting rid of religion. My thing is trying to teach people to behave better towards each other. And I don't think that I have to challenge what my family believes to teach them that, you know what, we can disagree with each other and not be exclusionary with the way that we talk about each other and the way we talk to each other. Have you ever seen the Avengers movie? There's a scene where they ask Mark Ruffalo's character, Banner, you know, something about what's your secret? And he says, my secret is I'm always angry. And you couldn't tell by looking at him, but there's a passion for me to get this message out because it's there. It's just that I express my anger differently. That's my answer to that.
That was every bit as good as I'd hoped it would be. Uh-oh. Oh, thank you so much. They did this at Atlanta, too. The band people know how to do the microphones. You know, I was struck by when Neil was talking, and one of the things I remembered about my life was since high school, I've had people said to me, you're such a nice person. You would be a really good Christian. So yeah, people believe atheists can't be nice.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's Sunday Assembly, where we're all nice. And we sing and dance, right? So, thank you again, Neil. That was fabulous. I'm so glad you're going to be willing to hang out and talk to people. Are you coming to lunch at Two Boots? And he's coming to lunch at Two Boots. So, more chances to talk to him. All right. It is time for our moment of reflection. One of the things that we've been talking about in the SMOOP is how to handle this moment of reflection, because we've kind of done different things with it. And so this month is a trial for using this moment of reflection in the way that at least we believe the initial founders of Sunday Assembly meant it to be used, which is a moment of mindfulness, a moment of quiet to center ourselves, right? A chance to take that deep breath, not listen to anybody, not sing, not dance, just connect with your own self for a moment. So let's do our moment of silence. I'm going to advise everybody to kind of loosen up, take a couple of deep breaths, and just be. Just be. I meant to hit it before the time. Sorry. Dang it. Reflexes, not good. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. A moment to just be. So now we are going to move on to more songs from the band. So band, get up here.
Next song is going to be Brave, and sometimes we pick the appropriate person for the song. We not only choose the songs, but we kind of try to match them up. And I think if we were to look in the dictionary under the word brave, we'd see this little girl's name. She's been Miss Chris, one of the forerunners, one of the handful of forerunners that started Sunday Assembly, and has been knocking them dead since. She's been on TV, done interviews. She's represented us very well. We're so proud of her. So we're going to have her do the song Brave by Sarah Bareilles, if anyone's ever heard of that girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon on your drug. You can be the outcast, to be the backlash, somebody's off the roof. Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do, and they settle beneath the skin. Kept on the inside, no sunlight, sometimes the shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly,
righty. Yay, that was great. The band did a great job of picking songs this month, didn't they? I thought I'm coming out, and I thought, oh, that'd be clever. I'm coming out, right? But that one fit perfectly. So, yay, band, for whoever picked the songs. Who did?
Kate.
Kate. Kate. Yay. Alrighty, we have some announcements. First of all, welcome to our newest person here at Sunday Assembly, Alice. Born on May 18th and already attending Sunday Assembly. Yeah, she'll be hosting next month. Congratulations to Adam Newton for being being named as a representative to the Sunday Assembly International Board of Trustees. This is a very big deal. As always, contributions are accepted through PayPal, or we can swipe your card, and there is a donation box. Sunday Assembly, unfortunately, has costs. Renting this place is a cost. None of the local people get paid. It's a good cause. We're a 501(c)(3), so please consider making a contribution. And, connect with us on Amazon Smile. I don't know what that is. Is anybody? Okay. Those of you
Facebook
who do,
and Meetup.
And Facebook and Meetup, right? So get on all your social media.
I think the important thing about Smile is some percentage of what you spend on Amazon goes to
Oh, it's that! Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's a way to contribute. Amazon Smile. I'll get my tech husband to help me with that. Everybody else, get somebody, if you don't know what it is, get somebody to help you. That is a great thing to do. I want to look into see if we can do that at Kroger, too. You know, because Kroger has. You can already? It's easy. Sweet. We'll find out about that and announce it next month, or announce it on the meetup or something. Okay, let's see, a couple more announcements. We have 2 wedding anniversaries. Andrew and Caitlin Bose over here. Yay! And the Supicas, you know, they're overachievers. They had a wedding anniversary, a birthday for Jamie, and they had Alice all in the last 6 weeks or so. We also have Ann Stewart had a birthday, and John Paul Wilson, who is the son of Vicki Radford and Elvis Wilson, had a birthday. Sharon Duke, I think I saw Sharon over here, birthday, happy birthday. Now, announcements about Sunday Assembly. As you probably know, we're doing book 'em, so we are collecting books. I saw a huge box already. We're going to do it at the next assembly too. And are we going to have a way at every meetup, every smoop? Feel free to bring new or gently used books for up to age...
From birth through high school.
Birth through high school.
No textbooks.
No textbooks. Yay! And as you guys know, we have a brunch coming up. We have a Learn More About Gardening. We have Middle Ground Snoop. Our next assembly is July 12th, right here. I will not be hosting. I don't know who will, but it's not going to be me. It already felt weird to do it twice in a row because we don't really do that. Although, at the Atlanta conference, there are ones that where the same person hosts all the time, which I think would be boring. So, anyway, so those are all available on Meetup. Yes, Kate? You're going to host?
No.
Kate's hosting! Thank you, Kate.
I just want to say there's a smoop on the 25th of this month in Franklin, near Franklin, at my place. So if anyone...
Social smoop?
A small group, yes.
A small group, I know, but is there a purpose or is it just a...
The potential subject matter would be how to defend our position. 50 different ways of defending when someone...
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, refute it.
Smoop, the 25th, on how to talk to Christians, defend your position, how to, you know, more on coming out. That sounds fabulous. Okay, and gentlemen?
How did you manage to get Neil
Harder to come up here.
Apparently, the story is he is friends with Moody. What's her first name? Tracy Moody. Tracy Moody. And they arranged a deal where he was willing to come here just for the price of gas.
Wow.
And they say atheists aren't nice. Right? Okay. So I believe that is everything for announcements. But you know what? I listened to somebody who told me announcements were next, and they really weren't. You know what was next? I tried my best. Okay, see? A year ago, I would be like, holy crap, I can't believe it. And today, you know what I'm saying? Ha! Look at me, made a mistake. Big deal. So come on up, Gwen Green, who's going to be doing what I think of as the heart of our assembly, which is the trying my best. I'm so proud that she is doing this today. So, Gwen.
Actually, thanks, because I don't have to adjust the mic now. And I'm not sure if this is needed after Neil's wonderful talk and Brynda. But you're going to sit, I wrote it so you got to sit through it.
You're on a good mic.
Am I on the good mic or do I need to?
You're on a good mic.
That's fine.
No, that's fine. Today's thing was coming out as an atheist. To me, coming out as anything means embracing the aspects of myself that make me unique. And most of my life, that's been kind of difficult because a lot of what makes me unique is not valued by our current culture. In fact, one of the things about me is considered a weakness. And I struggled hard on this talk because I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say it. I want to say I have depression, but I don't want it to sound like I'm in a 12-step group. Depression is labeled as a mental illness. I don't consider it a mental illness. I have a physical condition that causes me to handle situations differently than what our culture deems the normal way. When I get stressed, and sometimes when I don't, I shut down. I turn inward and turn off the rest of the world. And sometimes that's a bad thing. But a lot of times it's a good. It has a benefit. It gives me an incredible attention span. And it allows me to focus on small details. Some people can't see the forest for the trees. What forest? I don't see trees, I see leaves. So why am I telling you this? Because I'm tired of feeling ashamed about it. I'm tired of the stigma attached when somebody has something that has been classified as a mental illness. And I can't expect anybody else to change their mind about that. In fact, I can't really expect anybody to change except for me. And if I can't grasp that and say, even though it doesn't pay a lot, doesn't mean it doesn't have value. I can't solve problems the fastest. But I can look at an equation this long and it doesn't scare me. Because I know it's a bunch of little bitty things. And that if you take the time to work each of those little bitty things, eventually you get to the solution. And this is really the first time I've come out and said, hey, I have this. Most of the time, it's on a need-to-know basis. And trust me, there were very few people who needed to know. I only told one boss, and that was because I needed time off to go to a therapist. And he looked at me and said, I don't get it. He had a friend who committed suicide, and he still couldn't understand what happened. But I'm wandering. But trying my best means acknowledging that, yes, I have a problem or a difference, but I can still contribute. Thank you.
bravery, right? That's bravery. Coming out is all about bravery and fighting those stigmas, either fighting them on a public level and showing people, hey, I'm depressed and guess what? I'm still a normal person. You can still talk to me. I'm cool. Or coming out as an atheist. Hey, same thing. You can still talk to me. I'm still cool. I'm still the person you thought I was. So one more thing about bravery. And that's, I want to encourage those of you who are sitting out there and thinking, wow, that looks like fun, but I'm really afraid. Boy, look at those people reading the poetry. I think I could do that. No, I can't do that. Be brave. Step outside of your box. You know, for me, this doesn't take a lot of bravery. But the day you see me up here singing, that's bravery. But it's on my bucket list. I want to do it so much. So I'm going to push myself to be brave. But I encourage those of you who think you might want to do this, either get on this stage and stand, or get on this stage and sing, or stand up here and dance, that you do so, okay? There are ways in. If you want to be in the band, talk to Ben. If you want to be up here, come to the Smoop, talk to me, talk to Matthew Bond, talk to David Lyle. We'll help you do that, okay? Because that's where wonderful things happen. Wonderful things do not happen in your box. I hope that that's clear from today, right? Wonderful things do not happen in your box. Okay, last thought. And then band, right? I gotta check this time because I messed up. Yep, band. One last thought. I ran across one of those little things people post on Facebook, and it said, "It's lonely in the closet." Wow. That's pretty good, isn't it? It's lonely in the closet. But guess what? That's why I jumped into Sunday Assembly with both feet, right? Because it's not lonely here. That's what this community is about. Having a place where you're not lonely, even though you may be closeted, you may be a minority, you may be stigmatized, you may have a secret, right? This is our place to not be lonely. So thank you. Thank you guys for coming today. Lunch is at, come on up, man. Lunch is at Two Boots Pizza. They do a fabulous slice, or you can order a whole pizza. It's walkable, and other folks will have to give you directions because I'm directionally challenged. Yet again, coming out.
All right, everybody, give a hand to Brynda, Quinn for hosting today. Well, we're getting set up. I want to introduce the Unnamed Assembly Band. So we've got, constantly evolving and working parts. So I want to go through the list of, we have Deb Dennison, who sings with us. Her husband, Ray, who plays keyboards. Give him a hand. Chris Terrell, singing with us. Kate Sherlock, singing with us. Marina Campbell, coming out and singing like a mad woman. Awesome. Bill Campbell, he didn't make any mistakes. What are you talking about? Not yet, that's true, though. No. We got Ben Stuckey on the bass, guitar, Chris Shannon on drums. My name is Adam Newton. We've got Franco helping us with the setup today and playing some tambourine. Scott Tabachman was doing the sound, making us all sound good. There are also one other person that I want to thank, and that was really instrumental to what we were able to do last month at the International Assembly, or I guess it would be earlier this month. You guys have seen him every Sunday since probably August, and his name is Stephen Phelps, and we are a better band because of his involvement. He arranged all of the music, the vocal parts for the choir and the backup singers, and led rehearsals virtually across the world. And thank you for everything that you do. I know he's just itching. Next month, we'll get him up there again. All right.
And he's my mentor, and he's looking at me.
Quietly judging. All right, guys, so we're going to do 2 more songs, so I need you to stand up with me, please. Everybody knows this one, I hope. Might be a fun way to do it. So here we go.